So thank you for saying 3 o'clock, so we can start this afternoon's meditation class. But first of all, as usual, we have the beginner's meditation class as well, and the introduction to meditation class is being held in the room on my right. You pass that room as you come in past the reception area and into here. That is the introduction to meditation class. And the reason why we do have 2 classes is that if you're just starting meditation, to get the basic instructions, we want people to do like 4 sessions. And there the meditation length is not that long. It's only just usually, I think, quarter of an hour or more, and they do some walking meditation as well. We're in here, prefer to do longer meditations, usually about 40 minutes. I hope you don't mind that length. And if anybody has any difficulty in doing long meditations, maybe one day you're more disturbed about something than usual, one lovely trick or skillful means, we usually call them, is that you're meditating and the mind isn't getting that peaceful after a quarter of an hour or 20 minutes. You can open your eyes and even have a look at the clock or look at the Buddha statue. Just have a break. Don't move, but just sit there enjoying whatever's happening, and then close the eyes again and go into deep meditation again. That happens, just a little break for yourself. So instead of doing a 40-minute meditation, you do 2 20-minute meditations. And just giving that little opportunity to have a break, to look outside, just to see a Buddha statue or to see whatever's in front of you, the monks or whoever else is teaching it, that actually is helpful rather than getting up and moving. But anyhow, hopefully you don't even need to do that, because sometimes the meditation gets very comfortable. Now 40 minutes is not that long in the tradition of meditation which I was brought up in. Sometimes we meditate for much longer than that. If your body is comfortable and you're feeling good, carry on. Just you're sitting down and you have a bit of extra time, why keep it just 40 minutes? Do it a little bit longer. And people have done that. I've been sitting here for so many years, and I do remember times when, we say, okay, now any questions? And I ring the gong, and you look at the audience, and some people are still meditating, with their eyes closed, and you can tell they're hardly moving. You let them carry on. And if it's working, if it's more comfortable, isn't it preferable to carry on and get even more still and see what happens when people are still and they get more still and more still and more still? Isn't it wonderful that when you can actually add stillness upon stillness upon stillness, it does build up. When people don't go on meditation retreats, then they have all the time in the world to meditate. They can continue and they get into the groove, as they used to say in the old days, and then they're really meditating well, they carry on meditating and get more and more and more still. And you find you do get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. What's it like to be deeper and deeper? Is it not just words? How does it feel? If it's meditating properly, the deeper you feel, the more happy you feel, the more content. That's one of the reasons why you do continue meditating. It's because it's joyful, it's happy. And this is something which I've talked about for years. And I've noticed that other teachers don't talk about it as much as I do. How just sitting down and relaxing your body creates peace and happiness inside of it. You're sitting down and you don't start with the breath, or anything specific. You just feel your legs and your butt and your torso and your arms and your hands and your head. As you feel it, It's because I've been doing this for years and years and years. I can relax my body so well that it feels pleasurable. And the pleasure which you feel is important. It feels nice, that's just a pretty dull word, but it feels happy to be able to sit with a body which doesn't want to move. It doesn't need to move, it's happy being still. And when you can do that and feel the pleasure, there's something which is important, which I try to explain. You're understanding that meditation is and can be associated with happiness. It's not just pain. It's not trying to endure and beat your record of how many minutes you can sit, enjoying the discomfort. It literally does feel incredibly pleasant. And because the body feels pleasant, it's easier to relax. And you relax up to a point that the physical body kind of disappears. You don't feel it after a while. It vanishes. You can't feel your legs, you can't feel your hands, you can't feel your torso, you can't feel your head. Everything kind of disappears. And that to me was, an important part of meditation, the disappearance of the body. So what are you watching when the body vanishes? A lot of time, if you wish to, just look at the bliss, the happiness, the joy, the sense of freedom. You don't have to feel anything in your body. It's sat down, it's kind of disappeared, and you're on the inside part of your mind. A lot of times I've tried to explain that using the simile of, it's an old Buddhist simile, but not Theravada. It's the Vajrayana, the 1,000-petal lotus simile. And that 1,000-petal lotus, the deeper you go into the lotus, and it opens up and opens up and opens up, the deeper you go in, the more the outside petals become, you can't feel them. And that's what happens in meditation. The body is so relaxed, you can't feel it. It's wonderful when that happens. And it's not just feeling physical sensations, it's also the other senses, such as sight. That a lot of times I've had many, many experiences in meditation. A lot of times you didn't really interpret them properly. One of the things I remember doing is walking meditation. You see people outside doing the walking meditation. These are the ones who are training in the introduction to meditation group. The reason we don't do it here, there's too many people, and it's not hard to find a path where you can just walk quietly without bumping into each other. Where I first became a monk was in a Bangkok monastery. And in the morning, I was only a novice monk. We all had to go and do the morning chanting and meditation, which was 5 minutes, and then the gong went. They weren't really into the meditation, but once they finished and they left, I did my walking meditation in the hall. And I didn't know why, but they had a grandfather clock in the meditation hall. Every 15 minutes, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, dong. Why in a meditation hall would it have something like that? But anyway, what I knew, in my walking meditation, it took half an hour to go from one end to the other end, another half an hour to go back. That was my 1 hour walking meditation. It was not because I was timing myself, just naturally walking. You got so aware of the movements in your feet and in your legs, so aware you couldn't walk fast. And there was just too much going on. And so I walked very comfortably for half an hour, got to the end, turned around and walked back again. I never realized how deep that meditation was. I'd always been told you can't get into the very deep meditations, the jhanas, while you're doing walking meditation, because you have to be aware of where you're walking. And a lot of times, as monks, we'd tell funny stories. Somebody said there was one monk who could get into jhanas while he was walking meditation. You knew because of all the bruises and cuts on his face. But what I did notice once, when I was walking in the hall, nice and safe, after about 45 minutes, I hadn't finished yet, I heard a very strange sound. And the sound which I heard was Brahmawangso. That was my Buddhist name. But it was like it. Honestly, have you ever had those experiences? You can hear a sound, but it's so far away, like a kilometre away. Brahmawangso. And it was fascinating. I wasn't scared or alarmed, but someone was shouting my name from a distance. And so I stopped walking and put my attention. This is what you do in walking meditation or other types of meditation. You can actually turn your attention to your ears. And then, once it turned to my ears, I could know that I was not listening to that a long distance away. Oh good, some of the introduction to meditation walkers where participants are doing walking meditation outside. They're going a bit fast, but they're just starting out, it's fine. But anyway, that I turned my attention to my ears, and I realized it was not a long distance away. There was a monk shouting in my ear hole, about a millimetre away, trying to get my attention. Brahmawangso. But to me it appeared, it was perceived as being such a long distance away. My sense of hearing was disappearing. And that's what it felt like. What had actually happened was I was supposed to finish early that day so I could go to an appointment somewhere. I was late and this monk was sent to come and get me. That's why I was shouting in my ear as loud as he could. It took a long time for me to recognize what was really happening and to turn around. But it showed me what happens in meditation. First of all, the feeling in your body vanishes. That sensation tends to disappear. Whether you like it or not, the hearing starts to disappear as well. So you're not going deaf. It's just a sense of sound is being attenuated until there's hardly any sound left there at all. And that was kind of important. I was being taught from my own experience on what this meditation does. It was very safe in there. There's no harm which could be done to me inside that hall. But everything started to soften up. My body felt more comfortable and the sound started to disappear. And of course my eyes were open there. But in other experiences, even the sight, if your eyes were open. There's that wonderful experience in the Zen monastery which I went to once. There was a monastery so I could actually meditate there. But I never realized what Zen meditation was. You kept your eyes open when you were doing Zen meditation. And you had to sit still with your eyes open, staring at a whitewashed wall. And after about 10 minutes, the wall disappeared. It's kind of weird. This is a wall, something solid. But then there was no wall. My eyes were made fully open. What was happening? The sense of sight turned off. It was just like, I can't see now. That's fair enough. But my eyes were fully opened. It's like you can turn off these senses, the 5 senses especially, so they're not distracting you anymore. They disappear. And that was really fantastic to experience these things actually happening And that's what the meditation does. That's one of its purposes. To shut down the senses, so you can't hear anything. If you had your eyelids open, you can't see anything. You can't feel the body. The body is like in sleep, but your mind is fully awake. You're not dreaming. It's much better than that. No disturbance from the body, hardly any disturbance from sound, and you're watching something else. That's why we have 6 senses in Buddhism, and that 6th sense is the mind, the 6th sense. When you start to feel that, that's one of the reasons why we do the breath meditation. But honestly, these days I never ever start with my breathing. That always comes to me. I relax my whole body, close my eyes, stop listening to things outside, and then after a while the breath comes up by itself. I never go looking for it, and it was only the reason why I become aware of the breath is that's the only thing left happening. You can't feel anything in your body, you can't hear anything, you've got your eyes lids closed, and the body is just at peace. But the breath is always happening, going in and going out. So that's one of the reasons why in this Buddhist meditation that we talk a lot about the breathing, but we don't do anything. We just watch, and this comes up naturally. You can feel the breath. What happens naturally when you feel the breath? You tend to automatically get so refined, you can only see a part of the breath. The part of the breath happening right now. It's so simple. So instead of watching in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, it's that part of the breath happening now, right in this very moment, just now. And one of the other things which we do is to make sure we don't conceptualize and give things names and be intellectual. The idea is not to understand anything now. That just gets you into thinking. You want to be still, silent. And that inner silence, when I was talking a day or two ago to a therapist, he was asking some advice. How can you teach people not to keep thinking so much? Otherwise, what he was calling talking to yourself too much. How do you stop that? It's so easy. I know one little method I taught him was when you start describing something like your breath or your body or whatever it is you're doing in your meditation, start deliberately thinking slowly. Put gaps between the syllables. When you do that, you're not thinking fast. You're actually deliberately thinking slowly. And it calms the momentum of your thinking process. And you can taste the beauty of silence in between the syllables, in whatever language you use. And after a while, this is what happens in my case, the silent moments between the noisy ones are so much more attractive. You get attracted to the silence, and the mind enjoys that more. and the gap between the words gets longer and longer, till you can feel, experience the silence. Isn't that wonderful? You don't have to conceptualize. You don't have to record anything. Instead of the words, you're getting emotional sensitivity, how it feels, and not trying to give it words. I'm not sure about you, but some of the feelings which you get in meditation are very beautiful, but it's a struggle. Can you please describe that so other people can understand? It's almost impossible. You don't need to. It's much better, if you want to describe it to yourself, the emotional description of that silence, that beauty, that peace. And you're turning off that part of the brain which always struggles to find the right words for it. And you're feeling the meditation. What is peace? You don't need to write an essay about it. You can feel it. You can recognize it. And that peace just grows stronger and stronger. And you should also notice, I'm not saying this is an order, it's what naturally comes up. It's beautiful. Peace. How many of you have been in nature? And sometimes it's you by yourself in a beautiful part of the world. I just see the most recent experience of beauty. Early in the morning, when I was at the retreat center over in the monastery in Victoria, where I spent a week last week, it snowed. And in the middle of the retreat center, there was a big stupa, like the ones we have at Jhana Grove, the stupa like at Bodh. And the lights, electric lights, were shining on it. And the snowflakes coming down were like they were blessing the stupa. These wonderful illuminated white flakes falling slowly down onto the ground. It was snowing, it was beautiful. I can't describe it. Only just, it satisfied me so much just standing there, looking at the snowfall. And that's weird over here in Australia. But nevertheless, I enjoyed that to the max, one of the most beautiful experiences. I'm trying to describe it, but not in painting a picture, but describing the emotions which are constructed in me. That's a much better way of knowing life. A much better way of describing what meditation is and what it does to you. If you start conceptualizing, trying to find the right name or the right description for it, it's kind of just too hard, for me anyway. So that's why eventually when you start being aware of the breath and other parts of the body start to disappear, it becomes beautiful. And then you carry on meditating. And honestly, that silence is enough to take you into much deeper meditations, where you experience the peace and the beauty, but with stillness as well. I'm not saying watching a breath. It's experiencing the beauty, the joy, and the stillness without giving anything a name, without trying to keep anything. A lot of times, why do we try and give things names and describe it? Because we want to keep it, or keep its memory. You don't need to do that. Trust your emotions to let you know exactly what's happening. And the emotions are much better recorder of memory than any words. And then you can get some really deep, lovely meditations. And you remember those emotions. Oh wow, that was a really good meditation. And I come and ask you, what did you experience? Well, don't try and put it into words. So things disappeared, felt peace. You felt freedom. What is freedom? You have to go to work, you've got your responsibilities with your family, with your relationships and other stuff. What's it like when you have no responsibilities at all? You feel so wonderfully free, at ease, peaceful, happy. And that can really go extremely deep. So that's a little introduction. As usual, I speak too much. Let's actually do the meditation now. I'll do a guided meditation, which means I do say some words at the beginning, 10 minutes max, and then I'll be quiet. So if you're not sitting in your meditation position yet, please do so now. I will emphasize the feelings, the inspiration of what you're doing. Close my eyes. You know, when I close my eyes, I never feel guilty. I'm not watching what you're up to. I trust you. The same what I do with my body. I'm not looking at it. I trust it. My body loves being free. And for myself, the understanding of freedom is freedom from aches and pains, not having to do anything. And I have this little method. I start with my toes. Feel them. And after a while, if you had your eyes open, you'd see me yawn. That's what my body wanted to do. I never ever feel guilty about yawning or burping or whatever. That's what my body decides to do. It's natural. But anyway, I go back to my toes. Feel them. And thank you, method, because I noticed the toes in my right foot were squashed. And I'm very, very happy to move my leg at the beginning of the meditation to get my toes more comfortable. If I don't look, deliberately look and see what's happening, I wouldn't notice that. And now it's my toes and that part of my feet next to the toes are kind of saying thank you. I feel the rest of the foot scanning my attention upwards from my toes, the balls of the feet, the soles of the feet, the heels. It's like a cleansing, a relaxing. If there's anything which I haven't positioned properly, I will notice it. And if I cannot remove that cause of pain or discomfort, I will at least relax that part of the foot. It does make the feet pleasurable, believe it or not. I have happy feet. Maybe not the correct emotion, but that's what it feels like. I go past the heels of the foot to the ankles. Because I'm sitting cross-legged on a mat, I imagine the ankles sinking an inch or two deeper into that cushion. Just imagination. But it has the result of relaxing my ankles even more, taking off any tension. And go beyond the ankles to the calves of my legs. They too can be tired, worn out. So I relax those just by being aware of them, focusing my awareness on them, and learning how to loosen every part of my calves and get to my knees. And that can be a very painful and disturbing part of your body. I'm aware of both knees right now. And those two, I kind of imagine them sinking deeper into the cushion, maybe 0.5 centimeter. But that shows that I'm letting go. I'm loosening. I'm not holding them. And they feel so much better. And past the knees to my thighs, even relaxing those deeper. Letting them not be squashed, not be stretched, to be loose. They have not moved since I suggested that to them, but nevertheless they feel as if they're free to, if they want, if they can find a way to. And that much means that my thighs feel more relaxed than when I started. It's the image they're supplying to my mind of really relaxed thighs. I get up to my buttocks. There I have the feeling of pressure, my heavy body, the weight being transferred through those buttocks onto the sitting cushion. And that kind of is interesting to me, because even though that's a pain which I would always feel to be disturbing, as long as I am well balanced the way I'm sitting, that feeling doesn't change. Because it doesn't change, it disappears. It's one of those things about the brain. It only notices things which get worse or which suddenly get better. When they stay the same, that ambient feeling is not worth perceiving. The brain turns off from it. And I go to my waist. I have a special way of dealing with my waist and keeping my back straight, because it feels much more comfortable. So I get to that feeling of the waist. Its position supports the back and the whole torso. When it's in the right position, the back feels good. And the torso feels relaxed. And I scan my awareness up my torso, just 1 centimeter every time, even less. And as I feel my attention, my mindfulness, my kindfulness scan up my body, if I notice as I go upwards that any part of my body is tight, tense, aching, I pause there and I give that one part full kindness. The kindness means it relaxes, it eases off. And I've used that so many times over the years. A tummy ache, there's sort of an ache in the liver or kidney somewhere, you relax it until it disappears. And I'm sure that's caused great health benefits. And I teach people that if ever they have a cancer somewhere, maybe in your breast, pause if you feel the sensation of a tumour. After a while you can notice it feels different than any other muscle. Give it kindness, relax it to the max. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. Until that feeling gets less and less and less, and eventually disappears. That's how you cure these things. Until I get up to my lungs, or my tummy first of all, my stomach. That's how I used to cure food poisoning. Go up to my lungs. Don't need to breathe so much. I'm not doing this on purpose. The more relaxed you are, the more or the less you need to metabolize. It's just nature. And it's nice to still breathe, but softer and softer and softer. And go to my heart region. It's hard to feel the heart, but I make sure I'm kind to that area. Relax it to the max. And then go up from the heart region to my shoulders, relaxing those. As I go both sides, making sure my shoulders are as easy as I can make them. Sorry, not easy as I can make them, easy as I can let them be. I don't do anything, I don't make anything. I take away that power, that control, and just let them be. Until the attention goes down, my shoulders down, each arm, past the elbows, which feel at peace. If there is anything happening there, I will deliberately relax them to the max with kindness. And go past the elbows to the forearms, which I can actually feel right now. They're at ease. To the wrists, which are also not causing any difficulty for me. To my hands and my fingers. I always like pausing a little bit more with my fingers. It's the end point of one part of my body, the arms. I just make sure that they're okay, in a reasonably good position. I look at them now. Sometimes right hand over the left hand, thumbs slightly touching. Now the thumbs are way apart, but they're comfortable. So I leave them alone. The correct posture is not what it looks like, it's how it feels. If it feels comfortable, no need to move. I go back up to my shoulders and neck. I find it useful if I am tired to actually put my head slightly tilting backwards. Because when you get sleepy, you tilt forward. And then go up my neck to my face. And I find this very fascinating. Your emotional world, this is the segue going to your mind. How are the feelings on your face right now? If there is kindness there, you find that the lips are slightly smiling. If your eyes are relaxed, they're closed but they're not screwed down tightly. Anyone looking at you thinks you're at ease. Once my face is relaxed, it's at that point where I try and join up all those parts of the body I've been looking at. Kind of a unit now, just one body. I did a good job just then. The body is very relaxed. I can feel it all. Because it is relaxed, it really does have a feeling of pleasure, happiness, joy. In Pali, the piti sukha. It's just in the body feeling, not in the mind yet. That feels good. And I like lingering there for 1 minute or two. First time I did that, I thought it's indulgence, but now I know no. When I notice the contentment of the body being like this, the relaxation deepens naturally, and the happiness gets more. That satisfies me. I don't need to think about anything else. I just be here in this moment. That's what I like to do. Just to let go of past and future. The present moment being with the relaxed body is pretty neat, very comfortable. So I just stay here. Not a prisoner of the past. Understanding now is where my future is being made. It's really cool being here. The next thing I do is a cause for me stopping talking. Here the guidance ends. I stop describing things. Feel this moment with your emotions. Get that peace deeper and deeper and deeper. It's getting very close to the end of this meditation period. Do not open your eyes yet, but just to know how you feel. What's it like inside? What is the emotional content of your mind right now? We now have some questions. Yeah, lights off, that's good. So we usually do some of the questions which have been sent in, then afterwards we open it for any questions from the people sitting here. The first question from Germany. Dear Ajahn, I am severely ill and have many doctors. How do I deal with doctors who treat you badly because they don't care and I need help? How to meditate with anger? How to find good doctors? I'm not quite sure what the situation is over in Germany. But I know that sometimes the doctors aren't overlooking you all the time, unless you're in a hospital. You said you're severely ill, but sometimes have you not got some autonomy? Time by yourself, you can close your eyes and you can look at this body, which does respond to you, and give it some kindness. And with that kindness and making peace, allow that body to relax. And all the rules which they say you have to follow, please don't follow any rules for the meditation. And first of all, for your posture. Don't just try and sit cross-legged if that's going to hurt you or disturb you. Just, if you wish to lay on the bed, any posture, find the most comfortable. Not the comfortable posture, because sometimes it's hard to find any posture which is comfortable, but which is the least painful and disturbing. And then close the eyes and see if you can ask your body, in this present moment, right now, there you can find a little bit of peace. You don't have to strive. Hatred gives you a cause to do something. And you don't want to do anything at this time. You want to relax to the max. So let hatred let it go for 5 or 10 minutes. And pick up the hatred later if you really feel it's important. But let it go. And just feel the body as relaxed as possible. It's what you do for it. And then when it gets really relaxed, see if you can relax it further. I say that because I even said that last night, that sometimes when you get really, really peaceful, you can get into the deepest of meditations in a position which I've never seen in any book about how to sit meditation. You can break new ground and find the most comfortable posture for you is the best. And you can get in the deepest of meditations. And if you can do that, wow. That's just a beautiful experience. And then the body gets better and the doctors get, wow. And you teach the doctors, not by words, but just how your body feels and reacts when you can make peace with it. Okay, one of the problems with questions by the internet, by email, that sometimes you may miss something because the emotional language can sometimes not be totally transferred. We do it in words rather than emotions. Anyway, second question from Indonesia. Dear Ajahn, please explain what we can do to have stronger mindfulness, and how can the breath bring so much happiness? The breath doesn't bring happiness. It's the mind. The breath can sometimes lead people to have such a beautiful feeling of just breathing in, breathing out, right in this moment. And later on you will notice that you're not feeling the breath as a physical touch. The physical touch does not have the same happiness as the mental perception of the breath. That's why in the suttas the Buddha calls it not a kaya sankhara, that's a bodily feeling, a citta sankhara. It's a mental perception of the breath. And it gets to such a point that the mental perception of the breath becomes beautiful. So calm the physical feeling down. When that disappears, you know the breath is a mental perception. And that is usually beautiful. It's like going into the lotus flower. The way you open the lotus is with mindfulness plus the kindness. And the kindness opens up the mind perception of the breath. And that is usually very, very beautiful. And that's one of the reasons why the mindfulness and kindness of the breath can bring a lot of happiness. How do you build up stronger mindfulness? By adding the kindness to it. From India, I am feeling a lot of ill will. I feel less ill will only when listening to you and amongst the nuns. Thank you. Listen to me more, whatever works. When I am working, I cannot listen to you and the others. Please advise. I try to spend as much time as possible meditating, still experiencing ill will. You know that sometimes people who create ill will in you use that to control you. Refuse to be controlled. Because I'm going to be happy no matter what. Make a resolution. Brainwash yourself. I'm going to be happy even though I'm working. I'm going to be happy even though I'm working. I'm going to be happy even though I am working. It's almost like using the sense of defiance to create that happiness. Dear Ajahn, when I'm so focused on my work on computer, I often can't hear other people talk to me. Is this the same kind of hearing lost during meditation? Thanks. Not the same, but similar, because you are focusing your awareness on the ideas on the computer, and because of that, you're focused on one thing. But what happens in the meditation, where you're actually focusing on, is beautiful. I've never seen anything on the internet, on a computer, which is so beautiful. But nevertheless, because you're focusing, it shows you what the mind can do. It can turn off the importance of other things. So it is similar, but if it's something really, really beautiful and you can't hear, well, it was a good simile, like seeing a sunset. A beautiful sunset. We're fortunate to live in Australia, in Western Australia, and the monastery where I live is on a hill facing the west coast. There's some beautiful sunsets in Bodhinyana Monastery, and sometimes they can be so gorgeous that you're looking at that and that fills up your whole mind. It's like you've got no place left for listening to sound. And gratitude from Canada. Dearest Ajahn Brahm, thank you for all you've done for me with your talks. Much respect from Gray. Thank you, Gray. I'm very happy to be of service. And thank you for saying thank you. And thank you to all those people who send nice messages back like that, saying thank you. Because that motivates me to speak more, to speak deeper, and to break new ground on the meditation, to say things which other people don't say. So if it wasn't for people like you, Gray, I'll just give up talking. How many talks have I given on the computer? Haven't I discussed everything so many times over? But when somebody says they enjoy what I say, okay, I'll be here next week and say it all over again for fun. Sometimes people say, but you've said that before. How many times did Beethoven perform his concertos? How many times did the Beatles play the same song again and again and again and again and again? Did you ever get bored of it? Of course not, because it's beautiful. How many times do you see the sunset, on the west coast over the Indian Ocean? Thousands of times. Do you ever get bored of it? There's something beautiful which you can never get too much of. Sometimes the Dhamma is like that. Sometimes it's so inspiring. Wow! And I've heard this so many times. But please, I'd like to hear it again. Thank you. Now, from the audience here, from you, any questions you have? Elder's got the microphone there. Thank you, El, for running around with it. Hi.
Hello, Ajahn Brahm. My question is about inspiration. So you're talking about that and meditation.
Yeah.
Where, sometimes close your eyes, you don't know what you're going to get, and then something comes up. And not how you control or do any of that, but how you respond to inspiration.
Welcome it.
Welcome it.
Yeah. Inspiration's beautiful. And it's a free happiness. It's something you may have just heard. And wow, that was just so great, so beautiful. And look, I have so many examples in my life as a monk. We had a beautiful, great teacher, an Ajahn, and sometimes he would say things which was out of character. He never said that before, but it was so beautiful, it inspired me. When you get inspired, you can take that and just almost internalize it. It gives you so much energy. Nothing which is distracting energy, but just makes just watching this moment so easy. Well, I love that times. And of course, one of those stories you have heard before, but just like the sunset or Beethoven's Fifth, you don't mind hearing it again. Even as a monk, sometimes you're passing by someone, they've got Beethoven's Fifth on, or some of that music you just loved before. I'm not supposed to want to hear it, but you just do it by accident. Wow. Your mind goes towards it. But that Ajahn, he would give so many talks. Some were boring, some were incredible. And on one day he gave this talk before going to his sauna. And that really inspired me. How many times have I listened to him? That's my 8th or 9th year I was a monk. And gave such a beautiful talk. I would usually go and help him with his sauna, but no. I went around the back of the hall, just like here, so many places you can go and sit. And I sat down on the concrete, didn't have a cushion or a mat or anything. But I was so inspired. It's so easy to meditate when you're so inspired. Wow, 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 wow. And just gave you so much energy and so much inclination to being peaceful. Got into a nice deep meditation for a couple of hours. That shows if it's over half an hour, you can only do that on hard concrete when you're really inspired. And that was Ajahn Chah's fault. And then I got up and thought, maybe I can help him with something or other. So I walked towards the sauna. I realized I was too late, because he was coming in the opposite direction, already dressed, with his driver who was going to take him back to Wat Pah Pong. If you haven't heard this story before, wow. And then when he came towards me, I came off the path, which is what you're supposed to do to a teacher like an Ajahn Chah, give him more space. And then he stopped. I said this recently, and I don't know how I can explain it better to everybody, but the emotional truth was that he went into my mind and read it. You know about mind reading? When you actually experience it from someone like an Ajahn Chah, you could feel it clearly. I mean, not just a more maybe. It's just I was peaceful enough to be able to recognize he was really checking me out. But no, for a couple of minutes, not just quickly. And I often tell people, that monks like me don't read your minds. And the reason is because they're boring. I'm being honest with you. What are you doing that for? And then number two, it is abusive without your permission. I got no right to go in there. And then anyway, that he went, I was happy he was reading my mind. It just came out of a nice deep meditation. So nothing to be afraid of. And so then he came out and he looked at me. Brahma. He not gently, but quite fierce, but not cruel. And then he next said, keeping eye contact with me, why? Now you never see many teachers asking questions like that. Why? It was obvious to me afterwards, he was trying his best to enlighten me. He had a nice deep meditation, trying to push me just over that edge. And I replied, I don't know. You're being honest. Why? I don't know. And a great monk like an Ajahn Chah would never criticize you, even though I deserve to be criticized for being stupid. He just laughed. Really laughed a lot. And then he stopped laughing and he looked at me again. Brahma, I will tell you the answer. And that made me excited now. I'm getting the answer to a really deep question from a monk like an Ajahn Chah. And the answer is, he said, there's nothing.
Oh.
There's nothing. And he looked at me and he said, do you understand? And I said, yes. He said, no you don't. When he said, no you don't, all my inspiration left and he walked away. But I'll never forget that moment. That was inspiring. And a great monk like an Ajahn Chah gave me that conversation, which I love to share with people. Each one of you, you know what I'm going to do. You know why? There's nothing. Do you understand? No, you don't. But you will do. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful teaching. You can remember that so easily. If you want to answer that question easily, quickly, don't try and intellectualize it, emotionalize it. There's nothing. What does that feel like? That's freedom. Do you understand?
No, but yes, but thank you very much.
Okay, very good, excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Ajahn, this is an oldie, but a goodie. Because watching Crime and Punishment, and we were talking about people behaving badly. So, if people truly believed that we're immortal, would they be more inclined to live a moral and ethical existence?
Yes.
I was just
Simply
interested
because,
in what you had to say.
simply because they want to be happy. If it's immortality. But immortality doesn't make any sense at all to me. So even that belief doesn't make sense. There comes a time when I always remember a movie about Dracula. There's supposed to be the thinking man's Dracula. Eventually, the only way that he could be immortal, he would die and leave the world, was if he was caught outside under the sunshine. He lived for 300 or 400 years, and eventually he decided to allow himself to be tempted outside, so he could die. He wanted to die after a while. Immortality was too much suffering for him.
What I was kind of meaning is, if people truly believed in rebirth,
Oh yeah,
if they truly believed in it,
yeah,
would they be more inclined towards an ethical, moral life?
yes.
Or do certain people still think they're extraordinary people beyond that?
Oh, that's crazy. Extraordinary people beyond that. If you believe in rebirth, you can actually and find your own past life. Why not? And you know that if you want to know how to do that, it's easy. Just get into your deep meditations, which teach you the jhana. You bliss yourself out, having a wonderful time. When you come out afterwards, please ask yourself, what is my earliest memory? Keep it simple. And if it really was a deep meditation, as you come out, a memory will come straight away. And if that memory does come up, don't try and analyze it. Just feel it. And there'll be usually a memory of your early life as a baby. Can I give an example? I'm going over time again as usual. About one of our members. I saw her just a few days ago. And when she did this, she was breastfeeding in her mother's womb. Only, as she looked, that wasn't her mum. It was someone else. And she was really disturbed. Has my mother not told me something? Am I really her mother, or was I adopted? So anyway, she talked to me about that, and I told her, ask your mum. She was a good Buddhist. She's been on pilgrimage with me to India many years ago. And so she asked her mum, and the mum was quite surprised. What are you talking about? Of course I'm your mum. No, this is what I saw. And the mum asked, what did she look like? Now one thing I will tell you here, if it's a memory after a deep meditation, you remember it pretty easily. It's not just like remembering what you had for dinner today, for lunch. It's very clear. So she described this person she saw from whose womb she was sucking, not whose womb, whose breast she was sucking milk. And her mother was, how on earth could you remember that? That was her wet nurse. And she said, you gave such an amazing, accurate description of the woman which I hired, or my family hired, to feed you in those early days. And this is the beautiful thing about it. You know it's true, because the hindrance of doubt has gone. But number two, you can remember it so easily. And you can go asking people, or go to libraries, and find out. The messages are there, your name, who your mum was, where you lived. It's all there. And that gives you confidence. First of all, the early life memories, that you can recall what you're not supposed to be able to remember. then you go earlier, please, and get previous lives. But one warning, because I know a couple of people said, please, please, please give this warning, that if you go earlier, please, you often get those times in your past life which are closest to this life, which is your death moments, which are often very unpleasant. You're not remembering, you're re-experiencing, like you're back there. And so that's very unpleasant. So a few disciples suggested to me, and I accept this, please tell, if ever that happens to you, you get an earlier please, and it's your past death experience, please say earlier please. Go back a little bit earlier. Otherwise you get traumatized. That's all you need to do, earlier please. At that time your mind is just so obedient. You give it a suggestion, it'll do that. Then you can remember your past lives. It'd be wonderful if people could convince you that these things are real. It explains a lot about what goes on in life. You know, why you fall in love with some person and not other people. Why you feel very unhappy with some people. You want to be far away from them. Those traumas in which people experience, we're talking about this afternoon, they don't just finish at death. They carry on. That's one of the reasons it's nice to be able to say that. And it is true. You remember things. And that teaches you so much. Do you like insight meditation? How did the Buddha teach insight meditation? I think I said this a few weeks ago. It's not the usual way, like in Satipatthana. The Buddha said, get the Tewija, the three insights. Insight number 1, past lives. Where were you before? Insight number 2, how karma works. If you understand those two, then that's the end of any abusive behavior or speech or anything. And the last one was full enlightenment. That's real insight. The point is, no one actually mentions that these days. Insight meditation, what's that? I just noticed the 4 elements, the 5 this and... Yeah, that's true, but the real big ones. When you remember who you were before, you can check in, it's real. That's something which is not just a belief, much more than that.
Thank you. That is so inspiring.
Yeah,
thank you.
Now you can meditate. Anything else? Okay. There's more people coming for the next, whatever we're doing here. Excellent. So thank you again for listening. And see you again next week. I've been going overseas and also teaching in Melbourne. I have many responsibilities. Even just going overseas to the Indonesian group, they called it BIF, Bodhinyana International Foundation. That's the Ehipasiko's group. And also going to Melbourne, Buddhist Society Victoria. I'm the spiritual advisor. Ajahn Jacko was that, and so when he left, I inherited that as well. And sometimes that gives you a bit more understanding what's happening in other parts of the world with Buddhism. We're trying to help everybody. So if I'm not always here, it's also a wonderful opportunity for monks like Ajahn Brahm, for the nuns to teach here as well. So that's my job, so please forgive me for not being here for you. Let's bow to the Buddha. Just bow.